assert yourself into the microphone.
Like right now? Like
Yes,
this?
I think that's good.
Okay. There you go.
Hello.
There we go.
There we go. Whoa,
Yeah, now we have some good quality here.
Okay.
Solid.
So are we ready? Should we just
Yeah,
start?
let's just go.
Okay. So I want to welcome everybody to the Coffee Talk Podcast number 7, featuring MrLlama, the grand, the amazing, the fast, the speedy, the meticulous, D2 runner from all sorts of fame. I think most people in the Pee-wee community know him from which SDG? I can't remember the acronym. Just tell us what it is. And you said it before, but say it again. What it is?
Hold up. Say what again?
The which SG? Wait, all AQD.
Which event that we know you're from?
AGDQ.
AGDQ.
AGDQ. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was trash talking Rays. Go ahead.
No, that's and that's perfectly acceptable. I believe you said no name earlier, and you remember that. But so that was 2016, right? And you raced under the name Chris Wilson. So
yes.
Welcome. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you. I am happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Nice. So can you tell us real quick then, just like, I know you said it already, but 30 seconds.
Right.
What that is, what D2 racing is, how that works, any of that stuff.
All right. So I'm a Diablo 2 speedrunner. Basically what we do is we run through Diablo 2 as fast as possible. You guys have probably kind of seen it with PoE racing. But we've got our own kind of, ours is single player run. And it's all like solo, self-found, one character, and we don't really run to like levels or anything. It's just straight through normal, through nightmare, through hell, whatever kind of difficulties and stuff. So I've just kind of been doing that for 2 years. It's a lot of fun. The community's pretty tight knit and stuff. And it's one of those where we were all super excited for Diablo 3. And I think that's where it kind of came about. We were super excited for Diablo 3, came out. We were like, we're just gonna go back to Diablo 2, But I've always kind of been looking for like, what's the next step in this? How can I further race? How can I continue to do things, and whatever not, and so PoE is kind of maybe that transition a little bit, maybe just another place that we can still get races, because I know it has races built in, and stuff.
So you're saying that the racing or the speedrunning community grew out of the failure of D3, basically. There wasn't.
It kind of did.
Really?
I think if Diablo 3 didn't fail, Diablo 2 racing wouldn't have existed, or it might have existed, but it wouldn't be popular, because the reason it's popular is because Diablo 2 is that classic Diablo game, right? That you're just like, you look back at it, even now to this day, whenever I bring it open, same with like StarCraft, Brood War or whatever, whenever I pop it open, you just got those little sprites and you're just like, it just looks great. The feel is great of it. The gameplay is great. Like, it's just classic, it's like Mario 64 and whatever, all of those things. You just feel right. GoldenEye. It just brings you back to a place. And because there's nothing that's, there's no successor in a way, you always want to come back to it, right? Because you're just like, if I want Diablo, this is where I go. I go Diablo 2 or Diablo 1, but, Diablo 2's kind of a successful, sequel there in a way, even though Diablo 1's still a good game. But that's like the latest Diablo game that you can kind of get. And so I think that's where the popularity comes. I think if Diablo 3 took off and was actually a great game, people would go, if they're like, oh, I want Diablo, they're going to go back to Diablo 3.
Yeah.
And then some will trickle back to D2 and some will trickle back to D1, but like most of the people are going to stick at D3. But it wasn't there. So everybody that wants the Diablo fix goes to a Diablo 3 stream, stays there for a bit, and it's like, this isn't really what I'm looking for. And they go back to Diablo 2.
Yep.
So I think that's where it built.
It's interesting you say that too, because I really feel like, in some sense, Chris owes the success of PoE in no small regard to the fact that D3 was in some ways a dumpster fire of ARPG. Now, I mean, I think PoE would have been a good game, would have been interesting. I don't think it would be as big or as popular as it is right now if it wasn't for that initial, everyone was like, what happened here? This isn't really, what we're looking for. But so curious, as you say that, Why now for PoE versus say before? Like what was the genesis of starting up like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks? I don't know.
Sure. Well, first
Yeah.
I want to say I think you're totally right. I think PoE gets a huge bump because Diablo 3 doesn't meet the ARPG standards. You know, draws a different crowd, whatever. I think it takes all the people who love Diablo 2 but wanted an update, right?
Yeah,
For me,
right.
I was like, I don't need an update. I love this game. It's classic. I'm going to play it. For other people, they're like, I need an update. I need to do more. I need something that's being constantly like upgraded and maintained and, you know, adjusted and new metas and stuff. PoE brings that to it. So, you know, I definitely think there is something to be said for that. And PoE kind of came in at the right place or the right time to fill that hole. Why now? I would say, you know, when Uber Elite came to me at HEDQ, he, you know, he was like, you should try PoE, man. You should give it a shot. And I was like, this was when I just was getting Diablo 2 speedrunning kind of kicked off, right? Like I just gotten partnered in October. HEDQ was in January. I was just starting to like, you know, build a viewership base that was like growing and stuff. So Diablo 2 was like still on the rise, still kind of in that sort of in that sort of setting where it just felt good. And I was like, I don't want to leave now because I'm just starting to grow this. I got to see how far Diablo 2 is going to go, kind of. So it wasn't a great time then. And then I just kept with Diablo 2 over and over and over. And, you know, and eventually we kind of wore it to a point where it was like, you know, me, Ryu, you know, and Teo before he had stopped for a bit there. But, you know, kind of like the few people who were really running and stuff, we were running it. And I kind of was sitting there and that announcement came out where it was like PoE getting 10x. Right. And I was like, that sounds awesome. Like that is exactly the kind of update I would love to see in like Diablo 2, right? Like this is, if I could change one thing in Diablo 2 right now, it would be let's go to 10x instead of having the same difficulties over and over again. Because I love the, you know, I love the multi-difficulty over and over. But like, man, that's just the coolest thing. That's so much new content. That's such a different spin on it and such a new way to like play the game without deviating from the actual style of the game. And so I was just like, if this is what they're doing with that game, I kind of want to be a part of it, right?
Right.
But I don't want to start when there's just 10 acts. I want to get in because I'm a speedrunner at heart. I'm somebody who loves to like play this game and really move through it, and you know, like be kind of like really interactive with it. And so I want to be able to know the game by the time it gets to that point. So I felt like take a dive, you know, just like make a switch. Yeah, you might have viewer drops. Yeah, you might, you know, whatever. But like go give it a shot because this is, you know, I don't want to say I'm getting tired of Diablo 2. I still love Diablo 2. But I definitely have a small itch to, you know, have something that I can learn and rethink and stuff like that. Because the Diablo 2 meta doesn't change much now.
No, it can't really.
Built out, right. They aren't changing anything. We've built out like so much. We've drilled down so hard into speedrunning and all the like things that you should do. And there's still like optimization to be done with like a hell Amazon and things like that. But we've optimized a lot of stuff and brought it to just these, you know, these points of just like, all right, so now you're just grinding through it. And this, you know, and this game gives just like so many more options for that. I mean, just looking at like the skill tree alone, really hard to, you know, like 100% be like, this is the optimal build and path. And, you know, from what I've seen from the races of, you know, kind of watching some players, they're kind of winging it throughout some of it still, you know, there's not really any like set thing. Some people are like, oh, which is better? They're like, no, the Templar is better in this case. And, you know, so not even like characters are pretty determined. Whereas like in Diablo, we're like, I can tell you the fastest, second, third, fourth, you know, like I can give you all the characters from bottom to top. Jill, your mom race, sorry. You know, I can just give you characters from bottom to top, fastest to slowest, every single thing, skills, just, you know, exactly kind of how you should build it all, and it's really nice. So I love that it's being optimized and stuff. Go ahead.
Well, and they've updated that. I mean, I'd say that's the key thing is since PoE gets updated, there were depending on what patch, I could tell you what the answer is to those things. You know, like so Shadow Fire Trap or say, you know, Templar Lightning Trap or something. There was an answer, but it's changed because of how they've changed the game. And that's definitely the fun. That is the fun part too. I mean, besides some of the age-old racing melee versus caster, which we could rant about forever, but you know, beyond that, there are some things, but then it changes. And I'm assuming the 10x, if we have another race season or race stuff at some point, everything's going to change again. You know, whether you get the Pantheon system or whatever's going on. I mean, like that's the real benefit to it is it isn't stale, but then on the other hand,
it's very dynamic all the time.
Very dynamic. Yeah, but like as Nugi would say, Nugi's taken a break from racing occasionally, and you come back and you almost can't race anymore if you haven't played through. So nothing.
You're definitely when you come back, you're definitely like right outside of the good racers. There's always so much. There's every single season in League. There's something that's changed from the prior one, and you have to kind of get back into that and rediscover all the new tricks.
Yeah. I think that is what's really cool about PoE as opposed to you know, something that like there's all the core mechanics that you just have to get down of just playing the game, knowing the bosses, knowing how, you know, the monster types, resistances, all these things. That stuff doesn't change much. Right. But your flavor of the month does change. You know, Val Spark right now is just stupid. Give it till that, you know, 3.0 comes out. Maybe that gets nerfed to hell. And, you know, maybe. I mean, or not, right? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. But maybe that gets nerfed down enough that something else starts to stand out as the more popular, the best way to get through the game, whatever. And so it doesn't stick around as well for something like a lasting record, I would say, which is the difference, right? Diablo 2, it's like, I ran the sorceress in 1930.
That will never change.
Beat that, right? Like you're not like, it's not going to be like next patch, movement speed of all characters increased by 10%. Oh, okay, now all records are going to be broken, and how do you really compare them? And no, that's going to stick around forever at that time. And if you want to beat it, you're going to have to beat that time, you know, with the same character. But so PoE doesn't have that lasting record hold, but it has the super interest of the race, which is just fun. I
want to challenge the notion that we don't have lasting records, because with a very dynamic, the speedrunning scene and everything changing all the time, you kind of have to, whichever era we're in, you have to set the record in that era, or else to have that everlasting effect of I was the one who did it at that time, and then that's gonna hold throughout. Like the first level 100 in hardcore, the first level 100 in any given league, or any, since we had do you know of the races in PoE that we had?
Yeah, a little bit.
And so whoever had the fastest time in any of those, or overall number one and all those will like stick throughout. They will never be taken away. So it's not like there's these new records set all the time and it kind of negates it. No, they still stick.
It's just in the Hall of Fame for never achievable again. Sort of.
I think it's just the non-achievability of it is you know, the difference, right? Like you can always race against my sorceress time.
Correct.
I can't race against, you know, freaking raises 1 to 100, you know, like time back in 3 years. I would destroy it if I could, but because it's stuck in that era, I can't. And that's, you know, the difference. And then such as the best example I can think of is 3.0 comes out. All of a sudden there's no difficulties. Now you're going 10x. This is an entirely new era, and you can never race against any of the previous, you know, records. Like not one bit, right? They're all stuck in just that 1 to, you know, those are all 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 1 to 4. This is 1 to 10. Everything's going to be different. Where do you level? Where do you, you know, everything.
Well, exactly. And like we were the first group to in a 3-hour race to make it to Merciless, when most times people made it to the first act of Cruel.
Right.
And then it's just even now where there's still 3 difficulties, Act 4 is so long now.
Right.
You can't. I actually don't think it's even. I mean, maybe without starting fresh, solo stuff on. I don't think it would be even possible to make it all the way through. It just takes so much time. It's nothing about your speed or your skill or anything. It's just the game's so elongated. So yeah, I think you're exactly right. Do you think though that that's going to, is that a negative or a positive if people from D2 want to come over here and make this more of an alternative racing home?
That is
2D2.
I mean, that's a good question. I think it's just going to depend the runner. What is important to that runner? What is, how do you really want to race and speedrun and stuff? Does it matter to you that you can't beat a record of previous? Does it, or that you set a record and it's only good for this time, and then it's kind of moving on. Whereas right now Slimo has the Sorceress normal world record and hell record. Actually now he just got both. So he's got both of those records, and those hold indefinitely until somebody beats him. Right? He will always be known as the fastest Diablo 2 speedrunner until somebody beats those times. Fastest, Sorceress, whatever. That's guaranteed forever for him. So he never, he could not run again for 3 years, come back, and if nobody's beat it, he still gets fastest times. Whereas now it's you don't get that, your fame is maybe more short-lived. Boom. Right. All right. I just ran this amazing, 537 through, to kill Malachi or to level 70, whatever you want. Right. And that's an amazing time. We jump into the next era. How do we ever compare it? Is it, there's always just fastest runner of the time. So you have to stay kind of relevant to stay relevant in a way, right? For your record to stay relevant. If you want to say I'm the best runner in PoE, you have to have the fastest time in the current meta. Otherwise, they say, well, this person is. How do you actually compare that from the previous? So I think it depends what the mindset is of the runner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maybe some people will think yeah, I'm I always want to have that record that lasts and that can sit up on that leaderboard, and that doesn't change. You look at the best examples. You look at Ocarina of Time or Super Mario 64, whatever. Runners, and they are just they grind the same exact run over and over and over again. And I'm not just talking like Diablo 2, right? Diablo 2, you have different items, different maps, different bosses. You're constantly exploring. There's so much RNG. Super Mario 64, you do the exact same jump, leap, slide. Yes. Every single movement is exactly the same through the whole freaking run, and you are just trying to optimize this perfectly. I think you bring one of those people into a PoE type race setting and they're like, no, I'm done. This is stupid. Everything just changed. Now I have to rethink it. I don't want to rethink it. I just want to be perfect in my movements. So that's very, I think Diablo is the middle ground of that. So I think you'd have an easier time converting a D2 person into PoE runs than say a Super Mario 64 runner.
On that note, I wanna ask, since in D2, whenever someone sets a world record, how much variance and RNG factors into that? Because in PoE there is quite a lot of variance. One of the fastest runs that's been set for a Malachi kill, normal run, was set by someone who vauled his boots. And for those who don't know, a Vol Orb is a very volatile currency in PoE that can grant a random implicit. And so he vaulted his boots. This can either destroy the boots, do nothing to the boots, or it can grant something good. And granting something good is very rare. And he got 5% extra movement speed. So he had 25% movement speed on his boots because of it. Right. And this factors in hugely in terms of how fast can you actually run through the game.
Yep.
So how much does that stuff like that factor in D2? Say if someone gets really lucky in one run, can that determine the entire run, making it nearly unbeatable?
Yeah, it's stupid. That's the best thing I can say about it. Diablo 2 speedrunning is kind of stupid because there is so much grind that goes into it. that also you have to just be perfect playing all the time. It's right. So I mean, that's a great example, right? Getting the faster run walk. There are faster run walk boots in Diablo 2 that also have the exact same thing, right? If you pick up a pair of faster run walk boots that are, 20% whatever, you're going to run like 1/9 faster in the game than any, if you don't find those. And that is so much time saved, if not faster than 1/9, right? Like over the course of an hour, that's that's so many minutes saved. And so like you have Hisaris boots, which are 20% faster run walk, and they are level 3 required. If you find those really early on, okay, now your run is just like speeding up. But at the same time, there's so much RNG in so many places that it just becomes this like ridiculous, stupid combination that sometimes just gets so silly. So I'll give you some basic examples. Faster run walk boots. And this will just be through a normal run. Let's not even get to hell runs, right? Faster run walk boots, finding an item that grants plus to skills, such as a plus to 3 charge bolt orb or something, right? Absolutely huge. Finding a map that has a good number of shrines next to your Black Marsh waypoint, because you have to do a lot of farming for runes and stuff. Finding your runes on time. Finding experience shrines throughout the run and where you find them. Finding different boss types or group types. If I am in Act 2 Far Oasis and I find beetles there and there's beetle packs that are like boss packs, my experience suddenly is going through the roof. If I don't have beetles, now I have to find a way to like make up that experience. Finding just like, the Arcane Sanctuary, right? This is an hour into the run or 50 minutes into the run of a run that's like an hour and 20 minutes long, if not shorter. 50 minutes into the run, you go into this place called the Arcane Sanctuary. That's a pick 1 in 4 directions, and it's one of the 4 ways. And you have to run through this entire path to get there. It takes a minute or two each time, boom, 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 whatever. And it's terrible, right? And, you 4th weighted. Okay, GG, game over, right? So there's so many things like this that at the same time, like just finding the right combinations. No one of them is like end of the run, but so many can combine to make a world record. It's just stupid, right? So I could have a run where I'm going through and I run through this amazing Act 1 and I find Hisaris's boots and I get all my runes on time and I'm over leveled. I'm level 14 and everything is going great. I get to Act 2 and I'm running through, and every map is the exit's always in the last place that I look, right? There's four corners, and it's always in the final corner. And then the maggot lair is the furthest away from the waypoint, and it takes such long runs. There's no beetles, runs over. Or I could get even past that and get to Act 3, and there's a thing called a Great Marsh skip, where in Act 3, you go into the Spider Forest, and then there is the Great Marsh and the Flare Jungle. The Great Marsh has nothing that you need.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Great Marsh and the Flare Jungle are both attached to the Spider Forest. So you can just skip right through it. Don't even have to worry about it. Other times, you have to go through the Great Marsh to get to the Flare Jungle. Just crap like that. I mean, you didn't get a Great Marsh skip, blah, blah, blah. This is just to say, it's just... the RNG just keeps going.
Yes.
I'll stop there. It just keeps going. So grind for 1,000 runs and then try and play perfectly.
On that though, do you really think do you think that's, because I know, because the same thing happens in PoE, and a lot of players will then say, well, I really hate this, it's so stupid, and
right.
And they will really voice how much it annoys them. But at the same time, couldn't you argue that it's one of the things that keeps it, like the whole experience dynamic, and it kind of branches out from the Zelda and Mario speedrunning style, because there's so much variance all the time, and you have to adapt to what's happening, and everything is not the same set way.
Right.
So would you rather have it with all these RNG elements, or what would it take to, maybe there's something to alleviate it? I'm just kind of curious whether or not, because you're saying it's really annoying, but is it really that bad?
It's not. It's something that I go back and forth on all the time, right? Some days I wake up and I go for Sorceress World Record runs, and I run for 8 hours, and I quit the end of the day having not left Act 1 because every single time I got to the Black Marsh, I drew a river map, or I drew a map with no shrines, or a map where I couldn't get the runes. And I, I end the day and I just sit down and I'm like, I was running so well today. I was executing perfectly, feeling good, and I couldn't do anything because the game was just against me.
Right.
And then the next day I get out there and I'm playing crappy, and all of a sudden the maps are amazing, and now I'm not taking advantage of these world record runs. And so on those bad days I look at it and I'm like, I wish I was just running a game that was like Mario 64, and when I'm executing perfectly I could actually have a chance at a world record instead of having to always line it up with good RNG as well. But I stick with Diablo 2 because I like that about it. I like that you have to think during your run, right? I think that is the most important thing, or the best thing, the most fun thing about PoE running, Diablo 2 running, is the thought that goes into it. You enter a new area, you look at a map and you say, I'm betting my odds it's going to be this way from what I know about map knowledge. I think that this item is going to be the best for me. Oh, I just found this helmet. Is this helmet going to be better? Oh, this gives me plus to more resistances, but I'm going to be losing some evasion. Is that going to be worth it? And this, whatever it is, you have to make those split-second decisions nonstop, and it keeps you engaged as opposed to just kind of like moving through the game, doing the same stuff every time, resetting, moving through again, same stuff, So it's very, like annoying, but it stretches your mind and it makes game knowledge so much more important, right? All those tiny little details really pay off that you can kind of memorize and think about to know when that situation comes up to make that, switch. So that way, yeah.
Well, so it's interesting you say it, because I've said it before that at least in PoE, the unfortunate part on it, it's like it with D2 as well. It's a very binary thing. You either do it or you don't. And people don't realize that, like, I think I've said this before, my best race in PoE all time, I actually think I got third in the race because I had nothing, no MS, no whatever. And I've won the most demis on a single class of anybody in PoE. So it's not like I haven't won a shitload of times. But that one race, I had nothing. Other people were having great RNG, and I couldn't do anything right. But somehow I was almost there. Like I was like right behind the whole time. And at the end, I almost won. And I was like, holy shit, this is the best race I've ever had. And I got third, and because all the RNG was against me. And it's unfortunate that I think people watching don't always get that, and you could play. And I've definitely had races where I played really bad, and I'm like, wow, I won. Okay, I guess.
Yeah, like
to me,
RNG was on my side. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So Well, do you think that you enjoy racing when, like, what's the most satisfying thing to you? That where things are going bad but you're still performing well, or all the times you've put in the work and then everything comes together that one time where you've practiced, so you've got all your stuff down, and then RNG starts helping you along? Which do you find more satisfying to you? Because that's only one every 100 runs or whatever, and the numbers happens like that, or all of the 99 runs where you did really well, or 90 where you did really well even though RNG was holding you back, but you're like, wow, look at how well I'm doing this and this. I'm checking for the orbs, I'm checking for the thing. Like in PoE, it's checking for MS boots really quickly on your level 1 character, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Which do you find more, like, what makes you excited? The potential that this is going to be that race, or how well you're performing every time you're playing, or your improvement?
I think both, honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
I love when I'm playing well and when I'm firing on all cylinders, because when I'm doing that, then I feel the potential that I'm going to start, that I'm going to maybe get that run, right? Because that's always the worst. I hate when I'm playing and I'm playing terrible, because then I'm sitting there and I'm like, crap, if I draw the run right now, I'm not going to world record, And it's like almost I don't want to run anymore at that point. Like, right. I'm like dying, or I'm like, just not killing monsters the most efficiently, whatever it is. Like, I hate I hate when I'm not playing well because I'm always afraid that I'm going to get the run. But when I'm on, I'm just excited because then it's just like, I'm going. Maybe this is the run, maybe not. Okay, whatever, reset, let's go again, and you're going. And you're just feeling it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just, it's awesome when you're playing well, when you're making those clutch escapes, when you're, running around on, sometimes I'll be fighting Andariel. I'll have 1 health left. I'm poisoned. I have 0 TPs. And Andariel has like 1/3 of her health left. And I'm like, there's little like fallens running all around the map. And I'm sitting there dodging and diving and, weaving around and killing all of them and sniping and hiding behind pillars on Andariel's shots and just all this stuff. And it's like I kill Andariel with 1 health left. And I'm like, man, that felt awesome. Like it's so cool to like be able to do that and like use all your focus and skills. And then other times you die on Hillock at, level 1 and that's just, you pull a raise, as they call it in the D2 community.
Wow.
And, and so it's just kind of, I feel like when I'm on, though, it's great because you have that potential. And then when the run does come together, it's just like the best.
Nice. Have you tried, by the way, just as a random, have you tried Path of Diablo ever?
I have not. I haven't really played any third-party server stuff. Okay. That's against Blizzard TOS, and I don't want to really get into messing with all that stuff.
Got it.
I don't know.
Do you think they would come after you since you're such a popular D2 streamer?
I don't think so. Okay. I mean, but I just don't want to mess with it really.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was doing the WoW private server for a little bit and I didn't stream it at all because they said they would ban your Twitch account. So I'm like, all right, I guess I can't stream it. Anyway, so I was random. I was just curious. So just as a follow-up, I wanted to ask, do you think then that like what's going to be the aspect of PoE you're going to like the most? Is it going to be, because then it seems like racing is on sort of a back burner for GGG, right? So what do you think, solo self-bound or the race to 70? That seems to be the current thing, is racing to 70 under 6 hours. That's what a bunch of people started by. I don't know if you know the guy. There's a guy who I raced with on my team. Thraz is the first person to really do this. He would just race to 70 as fast as possible, and then people have been trying to beat that number since then. Do you think that's going to be the thing? Like, what's going to be the aspect of PoE that you're going to like and want to focus on, or
So I think we don't have to wait for GGG to really kind of build the racing community. It's already set. It's just built like Diablo 2. We have Malachi, right? Like we have normal Malachi, we have Hell Malachi. Why is that not just a solo self-found race? That like speedrun that we set up, because that's what we do with Diablo 2. Is like, how do we make this a speedrun? Well, Bale kills. All right, you get to Bale, end of normal. That's your time. Boom. You just set up your own. You get your live split. You do your own timer, and when you kill him, you mark it, and boom, that's it. Hell Malachi. Sorry, merciless Malachi. I apologize.
That's okay. We got it.
But you get the idea. But you get to that point. And it's like, why not? We have these set things. The races, I think, are really cool, and that they, provide that, right? Like that it's this like built in. It says like blah 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 made it to this place first. Rays died to this guy first. Whatever it says.
Oh man, poor Rays must be PJ Salt in the chat right now if he's here.
But no, like you go and you just get to these different. It gives that, and I think that's a really interesting aspect that we don't really have in Diablo 2. You have to just like put on your speaker, your headphone, and like talk to the person and be like, "I'm at this. Where are you at?" But so that's a cool aspect that opens racing up to everybody in a way. But for the game itself, like if we wanted to set up speedrunning, I mean, you can just say first person to kill merciless Malachi wins, ready, set, go, put your timer on. All right, I did it in 5 hours 45 minutes. You did it in 5 hours 40 minutes. Whatever, right? Like that's. I think it's there. So I think that's going to be where I'm going to go with it.
Do you have any like resources you must have in Diablo 2 that collects all the data, and there's like a certain way everything is like stored and all that? Or how did that spring about? Or
what do you mean by that exactly?
well, do you have is there any like sites or that tracks everything? Oh, how is everything tracked within that?
How is it verified?
Yeah,
for like racing. So we have speedrun.com /D2LOD.
Okay.
And so anytime that you have a record run, whatever it is, you submit it to that, and then there's a couple moderators that watch through the run, review it, make sure it's legit, and then they'll post the time up.
Okay.
So that's just we just store it on that side. It's pretty simple.
That's pretty good.
So if racing comes back, are you gonna give like the random races that you've never tried before? Will you give them a try, or are you gonna stick to the Malachi type thing? Because I agree with you. I think that at this point we have to sort of take it on ourselves, and we have to sort of figure out what we want to do. I think people have been in a holding pattern because up until 6, 8, 9 months ago, they were running a race every other month. There was a whole season, so there's no real reason to do anything because they were taking care of it. Right. So yeah, I'm really interested to see sort of what comes of it. I do think that the merciless Malachi or whatever becomes the next thing, I think that's too far maybe of a race, and whatever that was Act 8. So let's say, what does it take? 4 or 5 hours to kill it at this point? What's the number? I don't know offhand what it takes to.
I don't actually remember. Something like that.
Malachi?
Yeah, merciless Malachi kill on a fresh
like 5.5 or something.
Yeah, so I personally think that's just a little far for. I mean, I think it's worth it for the people like us who want to dedicate some time to it. I think that's perfect. Right. But we need, that was always the big thing in racing, because they used to be only 3-hour races were the only thing that they ran, and then they were like, okay, that's a lot of time to dedicate. Right. Can we do 2 hour? Can we do 1 hour? And then 1 hour races became super popular. Yeah. So
I don't think dedicating a lot of time to a race is bad, really, so much as but that's for me, right? Like 5.5 hours is totally fine, right? Like I'm like, yeah, okay, that's just like that's a stream. Whereas for somebody else that's like more of a casual player, they're like, I don't want to spend that much time. So I think for them, the normal runs are where it's at. But I think if GGG brings back racing, I think I would be very much inclined to run that. I think that's the way to go, because like these are always fun things to do and stuff, but like that's like the perfect time to show your muscle like all at once, right? Like, all right, we're gonna have everybody do this like right now, go, and that's kind of like, I mean, that's just cool. Diablo 2 doesn't have that. I wish they did. But they just don't. And so I think if they take care of it, like we could kind of put the 1 to 4 on the back burners in a way. But it's just kind of a standard for when there's not races. Right. Like, you got to race once every other month, but shoot, Diablo 2, I'm doing speedruns every single day. Like I want to race a lot. And so to do that, I'm going to have to hop online. I'm going to have to set my own stuff and say, all right, I'm doing a 1 to 4 race. I'm doing a, 1 to 4 merciless. I'm doing 1 to 70, whatever it is. You just kind of like set up your different races and go. And it's just, because I'd love for them to make racing great again, but.
Well, I guess, we'll see. So, okay, enough racing. So you've been playing, you're like fresh eyes, but you're an ARPG veteran. What's the one thing you hate and the one thing you like about PoE, if you had to name something?
Initially I hated the map. So complicated. Just make the map simpler, Give me like
Define what you mean by map. You mean the overlay?
The end game?
The overlay map. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the overlay maps. They're like there's so much stuff going on them that when it's overlaying on your character, you can't see anything. Yeah. Like just make it simple. Give me where the wall is, give me where the water is, end it at there. It's just too much. Just especially when you get into like Act 3. I think it's Act 3. Act 3 or 4. Like it's so hard to like see everything on top. Oh my gosh, it drives me insane. So that was like initially. clear speed is my biggest issue with the game right now, and my characters aren't even at the point where clear speed is too bad, but there's not enough interaction with monsters. One of the best things about Diablo 2, when you have a character in the later stages, is how you have to get to positions, kind of position yourself, stop, cast your spells. The spells take a little bit of time to develop, and kind of jump, and even when you're teleporting really quickly and things like that, there's a stop frame, start casting, teleport to the next area, cast, let your frozen orb take its time to travel, whatever it is.
Just to be clear though, it's you're saying it's too fast or too slow in PoE?
Too fast. Too fast in PoE.
Keep going. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm talking from characters that I play that are not, like my characters aren't these optimized Valspark crazy, whatever things. I think the issue that I see when I like watch those characters go through and stuff is that everything dies without you having to even interact at all, right? In Diablo 2, you can teleport really quickly, but you're not killing anything when you're teleporting, right? You're just teleporting through. If you want to stop and kill the monsters, you stop, you cast a spell, and that takes frames. PoE, it's like you can just, you just like shield charging or whatever through the map, and everything just blows up super easily. And people are always like, well, that's a speed clearing build and it's not great for bosses and all those things, but like that's irrelevant to me. Like, I don't think any character, good versus bosses or not, should be able to just destroy a map like that, because it doesn't give you interesting interactions. It doesn't give you get in the middle of this pack and you have to watch for the archers shooting the arrows and dodge out of the way. You just blow it all up at once. And that's where it comes closer to Diablo 3.
Yes.
And that's the part that I don't like. That's the part that turned me off completely of Diablo 3, where I was like, there's just a million things blowing up all over the map and everything's dying in a second. And I'm not like interacting at all with anything. I'm just, and then, I died because I got one shot by something that, everything's just slow it down. Slow down your cast rate, slow down your, movement speeds, slow down everything a little bit and make it, your spell speeds, and just make there be more interaction, and then increase drop rates to compensate.
Okay.
So.
Well, it's interesting. You are a ray of sunshine hearing you say that, because I think it's been, I think even people who a year ago, when people like, I know I was talking about, I'm sure Noogie was, a lot of people were talking about how the game's getting a little fast. And we've had sort of it's unfortunately become a meme at this point with this guy Project PT, who quit the game because the game is poopy in his opinion. But it's like it's weird, and it's weird because we are really kind of trending towards D3 a little bit, and I do feel that's on purpose, because D3 has really kind of shit the bed or whatever. It's a dumpster fire on fire.
To be nice about it, right?
To be nice, yeah. So they're trying to get all those people, so they've sped the game up a little bit to try to make it more appealing. And because my God, the game. Maybe the game 4 years ago was a bad game because you were like, click, 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 click. Okay, now maybe half of the monsters are dead, and you're like, all right, this is insane.
Right.
But do you think that negatively affects the speedrunning though, when it's like the way it is right now? Because like for me right now, I actually kind of, as someone who loves racing, I'm kind of like, it's not really hard. Either everything dies or randomly you die. So
right, and I think that's the worst type of game in a way. Not worst type of game, but that's like the worst thing that you can have in a game, where everything dies or you die randomly, and it's kind of a crapshoot. The best part about Diablo 2, my favorite thing about Diablo 2, when I'm sitting there and I'm running through Chaos Sanctuary, is how much skill and how much concentration and effort and positioning and everything it takes that I have that can get me through there faster than somebody else, right? When I am in there, I am having to move around. It's so difficult. It really is so hard. It's way harder than it even looks, because when you're sitting there watching, you're used to like instant commands, whereas Diablo is 25 FPS. That's all you're getting. And so 25 FPS, and your character has like a teleport of 8 FPS, and your faster hit recovery and all these things that you can't really see just from watching. But when you're playing it, you're like, I want to cast a spell. Oh, you got hit. Your spell doesn't get cast. So you have to like know exactly the spacing you need between yourself and this monster to fire your spell off in time before he gets to you. That might send him into fast rate recovery, so you can hit him again before he hits you. And there's just so much positioning and skill that's required that doesn't feel random at all. I never feel like any of my deaths in Diablo 2 are random deaths, or just like, oh, it's just like crazy fast and everything blew up and I died. Like, I know exactly what killed me. Everything is like, could have been avoided by slightly more skill on my side, or whatever it is. And that's the best part of the game. And so when you kind of take that away some, I feel like that's, that kind of hurts it in a way. And I don't like that as much. I don't want it to be easy and then I randomly die. I want it to be hard and I die because I didn't play perfectly. That's fine.
So, on that though, do you feel that, because that word, I feel like you're kind of describing two different scenarios though. One is the speedrunning scenario and the other is the end game where you map and you vault spark. Because in a speedrunning scenario, you're never mapping.
Right.
You're never vault sparking during a speedrun. True. And so there's the kind of like two different games you're playing here, and they're not the same. And so when you're talking,
and people complain in what you're saying in your scenario, right? People complain about the speed run because you feel slow, right?
Yeah.
Can you say, Noogie?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Could you elaborate on what you mean by that?
I mean, people say in normal Act 1 and Act 2, they feel like their character sucks. Why is it so slow?
Well, some people do.
Anything. Yeah, well, I'm just saying these are the competing.
Sure, but there's also the opposite. There's also the people that enjoy that and enjoy the fact that it's slowed down. But yes. It goes both ways on that. So do you? Because one could, like, let's say you want to embrace the D2 aspect of, or like you want to embrace the game in the same way. Like, isn't there anything in D2 where you feel like where there is something that takes away your control, or it's just random whether or not? Cause I know you have immunities and such in D2, and we have volatiles in PoE, and both kind of suck, right? Because volatiles randomly kill you, and immunes you can't kill.
Right. I'd rather have something I can't kill than randomly kills me. Mm-hmm. I think this is the best statement I can make about it, and it's something that I stole from chat, which stole from Crip. Is in Diablo 2. You feel like you're always in control and like dying is your fault. Mm-hmm. And that is like the perfect scenario in my mind. And I think you are right in the speedrunning aspect, that speedrunning is slower in PoE. In the fact of, there is more skill along the lines, there is more just like thought and whatever that goes into the interactions, and that's what I really love about it. And that's why I've been kind of pushing a little bit of like PoE speedrunning, right? And trying to like get into it, because I think that's the interesting interaction. But I think the problem is still, once you start getting really to like the later stages of it, and you start getting to like the ending portions, you're still just blowing things up too quickly. Like it hits a point eventually where it crosses that line, and it's no longer like this interesting interaction, and it's more just like, can I make things blow up as fast as possible before they make me blow up?
Right.
I
do want to say that this might make people a little annoyed, but I actually think that some of the stuff is a little bullshit that people say about how they feel they're out of control with their deaths. I stream a lot of PoE. Now, I don't always push the ladder. I just hit 100 on my character the first time I've ever tried it. I got hit by a volatile in a minus max map and didn't even come close to death. I think that all too often people die because they make shitty characters. And the thing is, there's two things: internal locus of control and an external locus of control, right? So it should always be your fault. Right. Even if you see that it's you can play differently, you can do things differently. And I think it's a valid point to criticize if you're a racer and stuff, because when you're racing and your gear is shit, a volatile is going to fuck you up. But on an end game character, which is how most people complain about it, it's like, well, I think they've done something wrong personally, but I guess we'll have to see a little bit how they adjust this stuff, because I don't think it's going away. right? We're gonna have speed is gonna be an element of this thing, so they have to kind of figure out how they rein it in. But they can't. There's no way they go back to 3 years ago PoE, which is what I would love, but they won't.
So you're telling chat to get good, right?
Yes. In fact, I am telling them to get good, because I've never tried to get level 100, and I did it on my first try with shitty internet for 30 days, and it really was not a big deal. So it's kind of like, I don't want to criticize people who have problems doing it, but you know.
I think I don't know if I agree completely with you on that, Morris, because one of the issues you run into is that, especially when you have a race for something and there's a way of doing it, if you deny the fact that there is a way of going fast and you have a certain goal that you're trying to achieve, there's no way around that. This is how the game is supposed to be played. Whenever you're going, like, say you're doing a speed run, if you want to insist on making a character that can't die to a volatile, you'll never set a record. And just due to the fact that you can go at a certain speed, you're kind of forced into that, and you will always be in this kill or be killed scenario, whether you like it or not. Whenever you're in a speed run, at least.
But okay, so are we talking about? So this is what I would go back to. I think volatiles play a crazy and not so much fun role on map characters versus you're going. I mean.
We're talking speedrunners mapping right now.
Yeah, because I think all too often people conflate the two. That's really what I think the issue becomes. I agree with you. There's a correct way to build a race, but I talk about it all too. I mean, look, like Ray's. She's been shitting on Ray's a little bit. Ray's is a great racer, right? And he's a really good ladder pusher. But the problem for Ray's is he has really 2 pedals, which is off and 100%. And when you're mapping on a character, 100% is really not what you should be doing. But the thing is, your point though is kind of like, well, but unless you're doing it the optimal way, you'll never be 100 first. I don't know. Literally every person who's at 100, if that's what we're talking about, the mapping aspect of it, has died on their character at some point, and all the people die and all this stuff. So I don't agree that then that way is the optimal way, because the people always die doing it. Now racing, you just have to accept you're going to die sometimes. I think to make the race compelling and to make it good, there are going to be times when it's completely out of control. And me, I'm a great example. I fucking freak out and scream for like 2 minutes about all this bullshit and kill them all, and I hate everything.
Right.
Well, okay, but that makes the game compelling, and then I come back and I try to do it again. I think if they remove that, you don't get that. At least that's, and I felt the same way in D2.
See, I disagree. Okay. I think you have to. Racing and mapping and all of that are 2 different things. But the problem is they're on the same game.
Intertwined. Right.
They're intertwined because this is the exact same game. And I think Diablo 2 brings that to, I think there's a way that they can do it, because I see it in Diablo 2. Diablo 2 racing, I feel 100% in control. At the same time, I can also make a character that can go through to the end and is even more in control, right? And so I'm not going to, when I'm racing and stuff, if I see a pack of souls, I can just save quit out of it, or I can, try and dodge away from whatever it is, right? Like I can avoid that pack of souls and just not go into it, or make sure I have max lightning resistances, in which case I'm not going to worry about it. But I always feel that in control. I can see what I'm getting into. There's like, you feel like you're in control of that race still, even though it's difficult. It's a lot harder, but you're always in control. At the same time, you can take it slow. You can always have max res. You can build up your life pool. You can level up where you need to level up, and you can go through the game and not die at all and get to level 99, whatever it is. And just being safer, right? You have both though. And I think that's the important thing. Whereas in this game, it feels like you can have that control taking it safe to 100. But if you want to race to 100, well, maybe you're going to have that chance that you just have that random volatile death. Well, that kind of sucks. Like, I hate having a random thing, kind of decide anything at any point in the game. And they have to be the same because they're the same game. Like, that's, they're both built on the same thing, right? It's just how you're running through it in one way or the other.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I feel so often though that it gets propagated around that that's something that occurs when there's always an explanation. There was a death of a guy on an SRS character on Reddit. He died to Natalie Portman or whatever her name is, Exile. Well, but did the map have chain? Did the map have extra lightning damage? I feel like there's always an answer to it. And it's, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just strange because I really feel like the game, I'm much safer when I make a character. And again, it's not like I don't know how to go fast. I win all sorts of races. So then it's like, what are other people doing, not examining what's going on? I don't know.
I'll come in his defense because I've seen it. It's very, very fluffy. It's way fluffier than anything you would call fluffy. Like it had like no damage mods. The reason why he died, he walked next to his SRS and it just hit him.
And next to the wall. Right.
Yeah, like it was very unfortunate. It's one of those things that happen in PoE. It's just what PoE is. It has these like crazy spikes of damage, which is something I don't think should go away. I think that's interesting. He could have. The only thing I could say on that is that whenever you play in a map that has an extra rogue exile, which it had, I would like caution him to how he would travel through it, and that's like the only thing to say there. But like, I don't think you can fault him for how he like for him, like, because that could have happened to you with like you walk next to your golems at any random point in time in a map that doesn't say it, and you could just get. And you die.
Yeah, but you see this. But this is my point, though. If you watch me play golems, right? I always, when I run through things, like let's say I run through a pack, I take like a figure 8 motion. So my golems are always strung out behind me.
Oh,
right?
sure.
And then I try not to. You know what I mean? Like there's that's what I.
But this is one moment captured on Reddit. Don't tell me that you through hundreds of hours of playing, you've never walked through your golems.
I'm sure I have once or twice, and I made a comment, that said, "Wow, that was stupid of me." Right, but I'm saying it hit. Sure, it was one moment captured on Reddit. The he's dead. He's doing it more than that.
Yeah,
right? That's what I'm saying. Like there are ways to improve, and I hate.
Oh, sure.
I don't know. I hear a lot. I mean, a lot of excuses about a lot of things, and that's sort of anyway. It's whatever, rough time. But I think that. Because I do think that Llama is going to, tell me if I'm wrong. I think once you play PoE for 6 months, you're going to find that there's more control than you feel right now. Because I agree with you.
I believe that for sure.
Okay, as a new player, you need like a degree in reading maps to understand all the shit that's going on. Right? For sure.
Like I suck at this game.
Okay.
Like straight up, I recognize that I still suck at this game. Compared to where I see myself being in
D2.
next months and especially D2 and stuff, right? I can tell you the weirdest, stupidest facts and stats and every interaction you could ever want to know about Diablo 2. And I can barely tell you like what the heck a golem even is in, PoE, right? Like I am bad at this game, but I have decent mechanics at least, which help me kind of like get through things.
Sure.
But like one thing, and this is a good comparison, is Iron Maiden. And this is kind of the BS deaths that existed in Diablo 2 prior. So Iron Maiden is a spell that when cast on you, when you hit something, all the damage is reflected back to you, right? When you melee something or physical damage it, all that damage is reflected back to you. And it existed in the Chaos Sanctuary.
Only place, right?
Only place that it existed. Yeah. And it was the worst thing is you would be sitting there, you'd run up to a monster, you'd pull back to hit it. You'd get Iron Maiden cast on you. You can't stop yourself. You'd hit the stupid thing and your character would blow up and you would die. That's it, right? So many characters I lost back in the day because of stupid Iron Maiden, because halfway through my attack, Iron Maiden gets cast on me and I literally can do nothing about it. And what do you say to that? Do you say, well, you just have to go and make sure you kill all of the Chaos Knights first to make sure or the Oblivion Knights to make sure that none of them can cast Iron Maiden? Or, what's the right way to really make sure that you have a different curse up and you're watching all of them for when they're going to curse you before you hit? I mean, it just becomes stupid almost of a mechanic. No, it was just a BS curse and they got rid of it.
Sure.
It was 100% physical reflect, and the curse still exists, but they removed it from the cursing pool of the knights, and so you can no longer be cursed by Iron Maiden from a monster because it was BS. I mean, it was just straight up.
Okay. I mean, I guess it's just different philosophies because back when the ladder was only 50 people, I was in the ladder of the barbarian, and this is pre Lord of Destruction, and I got from 83 to 86 grinding outside. Not inside Chaos Sanctuary. I forget what it was even called.
River of Flame.
River of Flame, maybe, where you could not get that curse on you because I was a barbarian, a warlord barb.
Right.
So I mean, I agree with you. It's stupid, and I think we should do things.
Yeah, you can go spend your time out in the River of Flame, but like, good lord, do you want to be doing strand runs your whole life? Like, I don't know, or do you want to be out in the dry lake till 100 just to stay safe? It's like
so what's your objective? Is your objective to get 100, or is your objective to something else? Because all too often people want their cake and to eat it too, right? That's what I come back to. They want to kill Shaper and they want to do all this other stuff, but they also want to hit 100. So it's bullshit that I can't such. Well, what's your goal then? My goal is to hit 100. I got 100.
I just think no place in the game should be literally unplayable because there's a chance of some straight BS. You know, like you're going to always avoid the Chaos Sanctuary because it has that curse, which is what we had to do. And
because you're a Fizz character, though. Because you're a Fizz character. It didn't reflect spells, right?
No, you're a physical character. But you're a physical character. Okay. You can never go in the Chaos Sanctuary. No, remove that mechanic. And they did, and that was the right choice. And it's gone. And now physical characters can go in the Chaos Sanctuary, and the game is more fun because of it. You know, you can go with your party and you can be like, hey, let's go to the Chaos Sanctuary. That's a great place to farm and kill Diablo. And you're like, yeah, we can all do that now, as opposed to, I'm going to stay out and farm the River of Flame again because I can't get cursed there. You know, like, it's just some, you know, it was a broken thing that they removed, and now you can play in there, and the game is better because of it. And I don't think anybody would disagree and say, I wish that curse was back in there so that area became unplayable and it was more limiting on melee characters.
Okay, but so like if the curse is 100, what if they made the curse 50 or 35 or something? So you had to pay attention for it, but it was not going to instantly kill you if you did one attack. Right? It would be, I mean, like, that's what I think PoE should do. Like, this is what I was getting when people want to remove things. Right. I hope that PoE, and they have in the past, for the most part, kind of just tried to scale it down or scale it up so that it remains, because interesting choices are what makes the game fun. I think as you get experience with PoE, you'll see why some veterans don't like. Right now, the passive tree has been stagnant for like a year or two. So there's really almost nothing to figure out in terms of what's going on. It's really complicated, so it's easier for people. I think that's good. So there's a middle ground, but it's like, you know, let's just say we removed volatiles. Right. What is they removed Reflect completely. They did the same thing, and Reflect was nowhere near as dangerous as Iron Maiden. Right. And is MSLE, what the hell does that even stand for? Is that still in the game in D2?
MSLE?
Wasn't that something that was bad? Multiple something. I remember that when bosses had that on them.
Multi-shot lightning enchant. Yeah, no, that still exists.
Okay. So yeah, so it's like, you know, I feel it, but so if you see that right now, is that super dangerous in a D2 run? Is it Bale or somebody who had that? I don't remember what that would spawn on offhand.
So that can spawn on anything really. But those are things that you watch. I guess the thing there is, in almost all of those cases, you have the ability to recognize that and watch and dodge because you're moving at a slower pace. Okay. So for a lot of those cases, you sit there and you look, and that's something that can be, you know, totally helped by just having high lightning resistances, right? Like, all right, you max your light res out, multi-shot LE is going to hurt you, but you're going to be decently, you know, you'll be in a lot better position to handle it. You can still run it into combinations, and this is just the random boss combination of where you get like Conviction Aura, Lightning Enchanted, you know, like you can still get like those sort of things that hit pretty hard, but you can always negate that by just having higher light res. If you overcap your light res, Conviction's only going to bring it down so far. If you have Lightning Absorb on, like there are things you can do to help yourself here. Whereas something like Iron Maiden Curse, there was nothing you could do. You had to nerf your own damage so you would take longer to kill things so that you couldn't kill yourself in one shot, or you know, if you double swing multi-shots, or if you're whirlwinding, whatever it is. Right. So that was like the only true BS out of your control mechanic in my mind. Everything else is dodgeable, avoidable. You see it, you can quit the game, you can teleport away, you can choose to just not hit the monster. You can avoid the arrows, whatever it is. You know, it requires a lot of skill, and it gets more difficult as the game goes on. But there's going to be that interaction that you can still have with it. Whereas, like I said, with Iron Maiden Curse, yeah, if you're cursed and you run up and hit something, that's your own fault. If you're in the middle of a swing or a middle of a whirlwind and you get cursed, well, nothing you can do about it. You just lose the game. So, you know, in my mind, getting rid of it was the right move. You talked about nerfing it down. could have been a possibility, take it down, but then they have to readjust the curse, and then it's different because that's actually a curse in the game for like the necromancer and stuff. So they would like, that would kind of hurt him and whatever. But I mean, I think getting rid of it was just the right thing to do, and that was, but maybe in PoE it's just a nerf to it. Maybe it's just changing that kind of like, spell reflect or whatever was, terrible many patches ago, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Now,
do you have to go, by the way? I don't where we run.
No, I don't. Yeah,
okay. You're okay. You're okay.
Yeah, I'm totally fine here.
So then we went off on it was good. I liked it. But so then what's something you really like about PoE? Did you say that? I don't think.
Have I think I've just shit on PoE for an hour. I'm still playing the game. So
no, that's fine. That's fine.
There are a lot of things that I really like about
you have to
PoE.
pick one.
And I only got one thing.
You only got that's it. Sorry.
Oh my god. Oh my god, one thing. I really love the one thing's tough. I'm gonna say I really love the feel of it, right? Because that kind of encompasses a lot of things below it.
Mm-hmm.
I love how it feels to play through. I love the kind of quest lines of it. I love the skill tree. I'm really liking the gems and the skills, that kind of how you level it up. And I love, Raze, and I love I had to throw it in there. I've been crapping on him all day too. And I love just like it is a very solid game with a lot of just good to it. I love the boss fights. I love just like all of all of that stuff. It's a ton of fun, and it feels like Diablo 2's upgraded bigger brother, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It feels like the actual sequel of Diablo 2.
I call it Diablo 2 2.5 to anyone.
Diablo 2.5. Yeah. It feels like Diablo 2.5. And that's my favorite thing about it, is it hasn't run away from the ARPG Diablo 2 style. You still get your same feel. You go through your quest. You have your same sort of monster interactions, and you're looking for similar things and your items, and it's just got a very similar feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate that about the game. So I'm enjoying it a ton because of that.
Nice. Well, I don't know if Nugi has anything else he wants to ask here, because we've run over quite a bit, because it was a good discussion.
Oh, I had like one thing, but now I kind
of.
So
you think I want to say, MrLlama, I think the one thing you'll really like compared to, although in fairness to Blizzard, even though lately I've been annoyed with them, I think they used to be the developers where you could really trust them, that they were doing things with the game's best intent in mind. And I do think that GGG, that is the one thing that GGG does really well, is that everything is with that in mind. I don't agree with some.
We can criticize them all we want, but at the end of the day, I do agree that is their intent with everything they do, is just in the best interest of the game.
And the best part is it's nice synergy, right? They want to make money, right? But since the game is structured the way it is, them making money means people are excited about the game. So therefore, making the best possible game works best. Whereas D3, it's all about, unfortunately, it was about, can you make a really cool looking cutscene? And then it's Blizzard. So then everyone buys the game. And then, 30, 40 hours in, you go, what the hell? What's going on right now? Why is this polearm an upgrade when it's, it shouldn't? I don't know. I'm a dual wielding barb, and somehow.
Right.
But wouldn't you love a cool looking cutscene in PoE though, or more than?
Oh man, I love Blizzard's cutscenes. Oh my god.
Yeah, right. Coming into I actually want to ask you, coming into the game, not having kind of the narrative that you had in D2, how did that feel in PoE?
What do you mean by the narrative exactly?
Right, you have the end guy, and you have Diablo at the end, and you have the follower you're following around, and like the entire. In PoE, it's more like you have to go out and explore and figure everything out yourself. And in D2, it's kind of handed to you. The story is there for you to observe, basically.
Okay, so story-wise, God, I mean, that's tough for me to really think, because I've been playing Diablo 2 since it came out, and Diablo before that, and the story's just been like built into my life, right? So like I've just like always known the story like kind of through. But I've never been a big like story player at the same time, right? Like I know the general idea and everything like that, but I'm not somebody who sits down and like reads through all of the like. I mean, I did read through the books, but I mean, you know, like sits there and like memorizes the story and goes through every detail of it, and you know who's King Lyric and how all of that. You know, like I've got the basic idea. Coming into PoE, you know, there was definitely less story to it. You know, I still don't know who the heck this piety person is and why I have to kill them 4,000 times, but you know, I keep having to kill them and stuff, and that seems to be just a thing. And it's just like, but I'm fine with that. I'm really enjoying. I guess the story doesn't matter quite as much to me as like the, you know, kind of like recurring, kind of seeing characters kind of reappear throughout the game, and you know, like the boss fights, and you know, as long as things are like really interesting, that's like the really like the best part for me. And I love like the Malachi fight. And I love the, you know, Dominus fight once you know that it's not a stupid piece of crap bubble raining blood death or whatever. You know,
did you die running outside the bubble?
Yeah, I didn't know there was a stupid bubble. I was like, boss, run away. Oh God, I'm dead. Okay. So, you know, like once you figure that out, like it's actually like a cool fight, right? So like, I love when there's more to a boss than just like, whatever, you know, just like spam all your stuff and run in a little circle and spam it. So figuring out each of those, and I think those boss fights stuff really cool. So, but story wise, like I don't know if I care as much, you know, like it's for me not as big of a deal. For some people, super big deal, right?
Right.
But it definitely
That's
helps.
the best part about PoE, that you can sort of it's go if you want to really read into it, you can, and if you know if you want to be the red shirt guy who asks where Falstad Wildhammer is, you know, there's an answer for that somewhere. BlizzCon or whatever, but you don't have to if you don't want to. It doesn't matter one iota in PoE if you don't know the story. Right. I don't think so. Do you think that then the people who it is really important for them, D2 and the cinematics and all this stuff, because I know you'd said it before, the 10-act thing where we're really going to learn the story, I think that's really going to be appealing for people coming from D2, because I mean, to me, that I'm excited, and I don't always get all that excited since I played so much PoE, but it just seems like even if you're not into it, you're gonna be like, okay, well, we're gonna learn all this stuff now.
I think that'll be, I mean, awesome for both people who don't care and people who do care. If you don't care, you have 10 different places that you can fight stuff, right? As opposed to the same 3 times in a row. So, I mean, there's just so much more interaction, so much more stuff there that if you don't care about the story at all, that's still amazing. If you do care about the story, I think that right there, if they can play that into a really awesome storyline, I mean, I think that'll be, you know, superb as well. Like I see it being only good, right? I see no downside to going to 10 straight acts, so long as they can make those acts interesting and not, you know, just like terrible, right? If they're all like act 2 Diablo 2 desert maps, I might be like, forget this game. But you know, if you can add enough variety and stuff to it, you know, I think it's pretty awesome.
Okay. So did you think of the thing you wanted to ask, Nicky, or no? You're...
Oh, yes. So the thing I really wanted to ask was the since you're really annoyed with the Iron Maiden and stuff, and then there's, well, we can change the mechanic, but so my real issue, or one of my issues, is it often becomes a struggle between the player and the mechanic rather than the player and the monster. It's kind of your thought on that. Because like when you had Iron Maiden, it's not really, it's the curse that's killing you, or the volatile that's killing you, or the bombs to the ground that's killing you. It's not really the interaction between the monsters. At least when you had that, because at least when you're forced to recognize the big monster with all its mechanics, you are like with the lighting things or the multiple projectiles, whatever. You do stop and see it, and you fight around it or whatever.
Right. So you're kind of asking like, I guess, what are my thoughts on? Yeah, I mean, like I love the monster interaction stuff. I think you can make monster interactions, so long as there's a way to effectively interact with it and have skill against it, that it's so long as you have that, I feel like it can kind of be allowed in the game, I guess. When it becomes this non-monster thing, right, or just like this curse or this random, your SRS kills you, whatever it is, like, I don't like that near as much. I have to always walk away from my golems. I just think that's a lame interaction with the game in a way, like, yes, it might be necessary because of how the game is set up, just like staying outside of the Chaos Sanctuary is also necessary when Iron Maiden exists. But it's just like, that's not like a skill that is cool in my mind, right? It's like a bad necessary skill in a way. And so I think that them, removing those sorts of things better, keeping monster interactions such as, the multi-shot lightning enchant and stuff better, because that's at least something you can see, something you can dodge. And as well with Diablo 2, there's a cast time and a speed on skills where you can see things, right? You can see monsters winding up to hit you. You can see monsters getting ready to cast things at you and yourself. And there's kind of a game you play that's like this, hidden game that you can't see it when you're watching a stream, but when you're playing a game, there's this hidden game of who's going to hit first, and you have to judge based on the speeds of monsters and stuff versus yourself to like get things off on a cast. Whereas when I'm playing like PoE, I really feel like I'm kind of missing that, because I jump in the middle of something and press my Ice Nova, and it's so fast that either I'm dead or they're dead, and I'm not really seeing a difference between the two.
Well, PoE used to have all the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just that in the last year, the meta in terms of you're so fat, like blues and rares people died to that a lot back in the day. It's just, and then there's huge bone skeletons. Those things could bonk really hard. Yeah. It's the same thing. Can you kill that before it hits you? And we had those sort of maybe existential questions, and they were all answered by giving everyone quadruple the power that they had a year ago.
Forget the Nemesis crab.
Yeah. Like you could have a bunch of things where like, you get this little teeny crab, look at him, and he hits you and he kills you. So, I really hope that 3.0 is a refresh where they can sort of, rein it in just a little bit. Like there's these on the trailer. I guess it's from Dark Souls, where they're like, it's a skeleton in a tire, except it's a bone tire, a bone wheel or something. They're rolling along, like bouncing along,
the wheelies,
whatever. Like, so hopefully there's, like things like that. You're like, if I get hit by that, it's gonna fuck me up. All right. So I really enjoy that stuff, and I think, I hope we get back to that point, because you're right. I think rolling into the pack, although Ice Nova's always existed, right? And it used to be you were always able to do that, except it did shit damage, and any monster that had cold res could fuck you up. Right? So they've kind of gotten away from some of those things, given all the spell echo and whatever else.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah. Well. All right.
Yeah. Well, that was what I had.
That's what you. Okay. Well, I think then that's it. I first of all I want to say, really big props and thanks to MrLlama for coming on. Really, awesome to have somebody from outside the community who's come over and is playing the community and bringing new people in, because I always think that is the biggest challenge for PoE, although less of a challenge now, right? Because the game's getting big, but like getting new people, especially if they tried it 5 years ago or 4 years ago, right? And we're like, wow, this is poopy. Because I know when I first played PoE, I was like, wow, this is poopy. But then D2 really pooped the bed. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll give PoE a try again. And then I was like, oh wow, it's really fun. So if we can get people to play, or they play to Brutus and they get slammed by Brutus. It took them an hour to get to Brutus, and then Brutus kills them, and they're like, wow, this sucks. Because I do think there's people out there who hate that. And so if we can get them,
I would say
get them past that. Sorry, go ahead, Nugi.
But then it's just not their game, and this is not their game.
That's true. That's true.
That's like the perfect that's one of the perfect fights in the game, I feel like, because you're not over leveled. You're not doing this stupid, crazy damage, whatever. You're interacting with the boss. He shoots out his spike. He shoots out his, grabby hook to pull you closer to him. You dodge it. You drop your spell. You're throwing spells in between your movements. You're, everything like that. And it's a fight back and forth. There's a really good interaction there. And that's the kind of stuff that I wish just existed throughout the game entirely. Right. That is the best kinds of interactions right there. I think Brutus is a great show of that, because it's a great fight to showcase your skills, kind of. And and then it can get harder as it goes on and stuff, but that's the general idea, the general interaction that I think is really.
I do think that this exists in PoE throughout, especially if you take on all content and you don't just shape your map. If you're like going through the entire, and you go to Guardians, and if you continuously progress, then this occurs all the time. Actually, it's just not in the current meta game, in the perceived meta game of what everyone wants to play and be the best at.
Right. But then let's not forget that even in the old system, there were maps you didn't do because the boss sucked.
Sure.
Like Brutus, to double turbo Brutus will kill you, so you just never do that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a very good point you make, Nugi, that it's like people perceive that, but then it's like if GGG made every boss hard, you would still do the easiest boss, and then that would make that the meta map or whatever. So, right, because you're speedrunning, you are speedrunning mapping at that point in some sense. So. But anyway, thank you very much. Can you tell anyone who's listening where they can find you, and then I'll put it in a little link below the whatever.
Sure. Right. So my name is MrLlama SC. I used to play StarCraft. That's where the SC comes from. You can find me twitch.tv/MrLlama SC, and YouTube, Twitter, everything is the same handle. So yeah, I'm playing D2 and PoE, kind of bouncing back and forth between them, and just trying to feel this game out.
Nice. Are you going to play? So then, are you going to be there day one of 3.0 racing with everybody?
I'm going to try. I'm going to be bad still, I think. I'm going to give it my best to like get good by that point. But this game is complicated. There's so much stuff to learn. Like I'm learning every day. So I hope I hope I can be there, and I can be like at least the funny. Everybody will be like, oh, look at MrLlama. He's like 6x behind, maybe that. Whatever.
Yeah. But so then if you're listening to Nugi's channel, if you want to download, you can subscribe, download we have all of the cool jazz that actual professional podcasts have. If you want to listen to it on your phone or whatever, you go to the website, thecoffeetalkpodcast.com. There's all sorts of links to click for however you want to do it. You can find it there. Me, Twitch TV, Moore's Rage NG. I did hit level 100 on my character, so I guess I'm hopefully moving on to the next thing with a headhunter belt. Very exciting. And then Nugi.
Oh, well, you can find me here or on my YouTube with the same name.
Nice. Oh, and we did it last week, and so I think it's looking good. This will be uploaded to Nugi's channel. Let me see if I get it. Let's see if I can get it right. Like around noon, East Coast American time, and late afternoon European time, roughly. It'll be on his YouTube, and then a couple hours later up on for all the things.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's it. Thank you, MrLlama. It was really great having you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you so much. And I really want. I want to be so thankful to you guys and the community and everybody. You guys have just been the most welcoming and awesome guys to interact with and chat with and just play with. Everything. It's just been such a great time coming over. Some games you try and shift over into, and everybody's cold or kind of jerks or whatever. But everybody here, all the streamers and viewers and everything have just been, just amazing. So I'm really, really thankful, and that's honestly one of the biggest reasons that I'm still playing this game is because of all you guys.
No, and I want to say I sometimes people malign it a bit on Reddit or whatever, but the community is really, I want to share a story real quick. The first person I ever interacted with in PoE, I had like a million questions, like what the hell's going on, all this stuff. I was a total noob, didn't know shit. This guy takes his time, explains all this stuff. I ask him, why is he buying these items from me? I'm like confused. He's explaining how it works. This guy turns out to be the biggest supporter in the history of PoE. He's like second maybe. He's donated so much money. He's obviously a really busy dude to me. To have enough money to donate 10 or 15, 20 grand to a game, you must be making bank. This guy is not fucking around. He took his time to explain, and like that percolates. I always think about that whenever somebody asks me a really stupid question for a veteran of PoE. I always take the time to respond, and I know I'm not unique. That is totally run of the mill. Everyone's like that. They will always take the time, and that's really the best part. And I don't know if that's from Chris or from the devs or from the original people on Reddit. I don't know where that sort of comes from, but it's percolated through everyone. And I agree. That is the best part to the community, is that sort of hardcore help everyone out if you can. So
agreed.
All right. Well, that's it. Good place to end. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.